First Contact Protocol. Captain Elena Santos stood at the helm of the U.S. Endeavour, reading the message for the fifth time. Her dark eyes scanned each word carefully, searching for any hidden meaning she might have missed. The holographic display flickered slightly, but the words remained unchanged. By decree of Princess Valora, heir to the Centaurian Empire, this vessel is demanded for royal transport. No substitutions will be accepted. Only a human ship and human crew are suitable for this journey. The message had arrived 3 days ago, sending shockwaves through Earth's unified space command. The Centaurians were legendary among spacefaring races, a civilization so advanced that their technology might as well have been magic. They'd rarely acknowledged humanity's existence, let alone requested their services. Still trying to make sense of it, Captain? Commander David Chen asked, approaching with a steaming cup of coffee. His weathered face showed the same mixture of curiosity and concern that Elena felt. Wouldn't you? Elena accepted the coffee gratefully. The Centaurians have ships that can bend spacetime. Their vessels are practically living entities. Why would their princess demand to travel on our relatively primitive ship? The Endeavour was humanity's finest vessel, but compared to Centaurian technology, it might as well have been a rowboat. The ship's quantum drive was cutting edge by Earth standards, but the Centaurians had mastered faster-than-light travel centuries ago. Maybe that's exactly why, David suggested, leaning against the navigation console. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the right one. Before Elena could respond, the ship's AI chimed in. Captain, Centaurian transport approaching. They're requesting docking clearance. Elena straightened her uniform. This is it, people. Whatever reason the princess chose us, we're going to prove she made the right decision. Clear the docking bay and prepare the honor guard. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, but Elena could sense their nervous energy. This wasn't just a diplomatic mission. It was humanity's chance to prove themselves to one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The Centaurian shuttle was surprisingly modest as it glided into the docking bay. No bigger than a standard transport, its pearl-white surface seemed to shift and ripple like liquid mercury. As the airlock cycled, Elena led the welcome party forward, her heart pounding beneath her calm exterior. Princess Valera emerged, and every human present caught their breath. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her iridescent skin catching the light like polished opal. 4 arms moved with fluid grace, and her eyes, all 3 of them, studied the humans with an intensity that made Elena feel like she was being scanned at the molecular level. Captain Santos, the princess spoke, her voice carrying harmonics that made the air vibrate. I trust you understand the gravity of this request. Elena bowed slightly. We're honored by your choice, Your Highness. Though I must admit, we're curious about why you chose a human vessel. The princess's middle eye narrowed slightly. Your species is interesting. You achieve so much with so little. While others rely on quantum manipulation and dimensional folding, humans still use physical engines and manual controls. It's primitive. And yet, you survive. You thrive. You push forward. She gestured to her shuttle. My people have become too dependent on our technology. We've forgotten what it means to truly navigate space, to feel the void between stars. This journey requires something that cannot be calculated by our most advanced computers. And what's that, Your Highness? Elena asked. Human intuition. Valera's expression shifted into what might have been a smile. Your species possesses a unique ability to make impossible decisions with incomplete information. Where our systems would freeze, unable to compute the perfect solution, humans adapt. Before Elena could process this revelation, the ship's alarm system blared to life. Captain, Lieutenant Park's voice came through the comm. 3 unidentified vessels just dropped out of FTL. They're on an intercept course. The princess's expression darkened. It seems my journey with you begins sooner than expected, Captain. There are those who would prefer I never reach my destination. Elena was already moving toward the bridge, her training taking over. Your Highness, please follow me. We'll get you to safety. No. Valera's voice carried an edge of steel. I will remain on the bridge. I chose a human ship because I wanted to see how you handle crisis. Show me what humanity can do, Captain Santos. As they rushed the bridge, Alima's mind raced with possibilities. They were outgunned, outsized, and probably facing technology far beyond their understanding. But then again, that's what humans did best: succeed when the odds said they should fail. All hands to battle stations, Alina commanded, settling into her captain's chair. Let's show our guest why she was right to choose us. The unknown vessels drew closer, their intentions clear. But aboard the U.S. Endeavor, humanity was about to prove that sometimes the most primitive solution was exactly what the situation required. The real test was just beginning. A test of worth. The 3 alien vessels bore down on the Endeavor like predators stalking prey. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic sheen that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making them look like moving holes in space. Those are Kraxan warships. Princess Valera stood silent for a long moment, all 3 eyes fixed on Alina. You knew your technology couldn't match theirs, so you changed the rules of engagement. Made them fight on your terms. A small smile crossed her alien features. Perhaps there is more wisdom in primitive solutions than my people have acknowledged. But as they emerged from the nebula, leaving the disabled Kraxan ships behind, Alina's triumph was short-lived. The ship's computer flagged an anomaly. A brief, encrypted transmission had been sent just before they entered the nebula. Someone aboard the Endeavor had been communicating with the attackers. Your Highness, Alina said quietly, I think we have another problem. One that might be harder to solve than outrunning advanced warships. The princess nodded gravely. Indeed, Captain. It seems your next test will be finding an enemy within rather than without. I look forward to seeing how human intuition handles this challenge. As Alina ordered a subtle security sweep of the ship, she couldn't help but wonder, was this part of the princess's test too? Or had they stumbled into something far more dangerous than a simple diplomatic transport mission? Either way, she had a feeling their display of human ingenuity in the nebula was just the beginning of their trials. The storm within. The Endeavor hummed quietly as Alina studied the security logs in her ready room. 3 days had passed since the nebula incident, and the knowledge of a traitor aboard had turned the ship's atmosphere tense. Every crew member was both suspect and investigator, watching their colleagues while knowing they themselves were being watched. Computer analysis complete, Captain, Commander Chen reported, his usual easy manner replaced by careful professionalism. The transmission was sent using quantum encryption protocols we didn't even know existed. Whoever did this has access to extremely advanced technology. Princess Valera, who had insisted on being part of the investigation, moved with fluid grace to examine the data. This encryption, it's Centaurian in origin. Alina felt her stomach tighten. Are you saying one of your people is aboard my ship? No, Valera's 3 eyes narrowed. I'm saying someone aboard has access to technology they shouldn't possess. Technology that was stolen from my people. Before Alina could respond, the ship's lighting flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Emergency systems kicked in moments later, casting everything in a red glow. Bridge report. Alina barked into her comm. Lieutenant Park's voice came through, strained but professional. Main power grid is down, Captain. Someone's introduced a cascading failure through the auxiliary systems. We're losing control of critical functions. Sabotage, Chen muttered. They're making their move. Alina was already moving. Security teams to engineering. Chen, get to the bridge. Princess, please stay. She turned to find Valera already striding toward the door. I chose a human ship, Captain, the princess stated firmly. I will see how humans handle crisis from the front lines. They rushed through red-lit corridors as warning klaxons blared. Crew members moved with urgent purpose, their training holding despite the chaos. Alina felt a surge of pride. Even with a traitor in their midst, her people kept their heads. Engineering was a scene of controlled chaos when they arrived. Chief Engineer Maria Rodriguez was directing her team with rapid-fire commands, her hands flying over control panels. "Talk to me, Chief," Elena demanded. "Someone's uploaded a virus into our systems," Rodriguez explained, not looking up from her work. "It's like nothing I've ever seen. The code keeps adapting, staying one step ahead of our countermeasures. Centaurian attack software," Valera observed, "designed to overwhelm primitive computer systems." Elena watched her crew fighting against the virus, using human ingenuity against alien technology. Then something caught her eye, a pattern in the virus behavior. "Chief, is the virus targeting our systems in order of complexity?" Rodriguez paused, checking her readings. "Yes. It's taking down our most advanced systems first, working its way down to basic functions." Elena smiled grimly. "Then let's give it what it wants. Shut down everything above complexity level 2. Everything. Life support, navigation, weapons, all of it." "Captain," Chen's voice came through her comm, "that would leave us running on little more than backup processors from the 21st century. "Exactly. Princess, you said your people have forgotten what it means to truly navigate space. Well, we're about to get real primitive." Valera watched with fascination as the crew executed Elena's orders. System after system went dark, until the Endeavour was running on technology that would have been considered outdated even by early space exploration standards. The virus, designed to attack and overwhelm advanced systems, found itself with nothing to infect. Like a predator evolved to hunt large prey, it couldn't adapt to catch smaller targets. "Remarkable," Valera murmured. "You defeated advanced technology by abandoning advancement altogether." "Sometimes the best way to win is to refuse to play the game," Elena replied. "Now let's find our saboteur. They'll have to act directly now that their virus failed." As if on cue, the ship's few remaining sensors detected movement in the cargo bay. Someone was preparing the shuttle for launch. "Security teams, converge on cargo bay 2, Elena ordered. "But maintain distance. Let them think they're succeeding." They moved quietly through the ship's skeletal systems, tracking the saboteur's movements. When they reached the cargo bay, Elena held up her hand, signaling her teams to wait. The bay doors were opening, a shuttle's engines warming up. In the red emergency lighting, Elena could make out a figure in an engineering uniform rushing to complete launch preparations. "Lieutenant Hayes," Elena called out, stepping into view. "Or should I say, Agent Hayes." The figure froze, then slowly turned. Hayes's face showed no surprise at being caught, only cold calculation. "You understand nothing," Hayes said, his voice carrying new harmonics that hadn't been there before. "The princess's mission would destroy everything we've built. The hierarchy must be maintained." Valera stepped forward, her presence filling the cargo bay. "You're from the conservative faction. You believe allowing humans to play a role in galactic politics would weaken the Empire. Humans are primitive." Hayes spat. "They solve problems with brute force and blind luck. They have no place among advanced species." Elena kept her weapon trained on Hayes as she moved closer. "And yet here you are, using stolen Centaurian tech, hiding among us primitives because your advanced methods failed. Didn't that tell you something?" Hayes reached for something at his belt, but Elena was faster. One shot from her simple projectile weapon, and Hayes's stolen technology sparked and died. "Primitive problems," Elena said quietly, "sometimes need primitive solutions." As security took Hayes into custody, Valera turned to Elena. "You knew, didn't you? That's why you chose to shut down the advanced systems, not just to stop the virus, but to force the saboteur to act openly." Elena nodded. "Humans may be primitive by your standards, Princess, but we understand people. Technology changes, but fear, pride, desperation, those stay the same across species." But as they watched Hayes being led away, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. The conservative faction wouldn't give up so easily, and their journey was far from complete. "Captain," Chen's voice came through her comm. "Long-range sensors, what's left of them, are picking up something massive approaching. Whatever it is, it's bigger than anything we've ever encountered." Delina and Valera shared a look. Their next challenge was already approaching, and this time, they might need more than primitive solutions to survive. Crucible of stars. The massive object approaching the Endeavor defied description. It was as if a piece of space itself had begun to move, a void that consumed light and sensor readings alike. With most of their advanced systems still offline after dealing with the saboteur, the crew was nearly blind. "It's a void crusher," Princess Valera announced, her three eyes wide with concern. "A weapon from the ancient wars, designed to tear ships apart at the quantum level. I thought they were all destroyed." Elena watched the mysterious phenomenon grow larger on their view screen. "Let me guess, the conservative faction found one." "They're desperate," Valera confirmed. "If my mission succeeds, it will change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. They would rather destroy this ship, and me with it, than allow that to happen." Chief Rodriguez's voice crackled through the basic comm system. "Captain, that thing's generating some kind of quantum disruption field. Even if we bring our advanced systems back online, they'll be useless." Elena stood at her command station, mind racing. The Void Crusher was closing in, its very presence causing the ship's hull to creak and groan. They couldn't fight it with advanced technology, couldn't outrun it with their quantum drive, and couldn't hide from something that bent space itself. "Lieutenant Park," Elena called out, "what's the simplest way to measure distance in space?" Park looked confused but answered quickly. "Visual observation and basic trigonometry, Captain. The same way ancient sailors navigated by stars. And the simplest way to move in space. Newton's third law," Chen answered, beginning to understand. "For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction." Elena smiled. "Exactly. The Void Crusher disrupts quantum mechanics, advanced propulsion, sophisticated weapons, but it can't disrupt basic physics. Chief Rodriguez, can you rig our maintenance thrusters to release their entire fuel supply in one burst?" "Yes, but..." Rodriguez paused. "Captain, that would be like setting off a bomb next to our hull." "A controlled explosion," Elena corrected. "The most primitive form of propulsion there is." She turned to Valera. "Princess, your people have become so advanced that you've forgotten the foundations of space travel. But sometimes the old ways are the best ways." Valera studied Elena with newfound respect. "You intend to use an explosion to propel the ship. Primitive, dangerous, and brilliant. The Void Crusher is designed to counter sophisticated technology, not basic kinetic force." Elena began issuing orders. The crew moved with purpose, even as the ship groaned around them. The Void Crusher's effect was growing stronger, trying to tear them apart at the quantum level. They had one chance to get this right. "All hands, brace for impact," Elena commanded. "Chief, on my mark, detonate the thrusters." The moment stretched like an eternity. Elena watched the Void Crusher approach, its impossible presence threatening to consume them. Then, just as its quantum disruption field began to tear at their outer hull, she gave the order. The explosion was massive. Every maintenance thruster on the ship's port side detonated simultaneously, releasing their fuel in a controlled but devastating blast. The force slammed everyone sideways as the Endeavor was thrown like a cosmic billiard ball. Through the chaos, Elena saw their trajectory was perfect. The blast had hurled them into a slingshot orbit around a nearby star. The Void Crusher, designed to track and pursue ships using advanced propulsion, couldn't adjust quickly enough to follow their ballistic path. "Status report," Elena called out as she pulled herself back to her station. "Hull integrity holding at 82%, Chen reported. Multiple systems damaged but no breaches. The Void Crusher, it's struggling to reorient itself. Its tracking systems can't predict simple Newtonian physics fast enough." Valera watched in amazement as the ancient weapon tried and failed to pursue them. You turned our greatest weakness into our greatest strength. No Centaurian ship would have survived that maneuver. We rely too heavily on quantum stabilizers and inertial dampeners. Sometimes, Alina said, helping a fallen crew member up, being advanced means you forget the basics. Every spacefaring race had to master simple physics before they could build quantum drives. We humans just haven't forgotten those lessons yet. But their victory celebration was cut short. The star they were using for their slingshot maneuver suddenly flared with intense activity. The Void Crusher had triggered a solar eruption of unprecedented scale. "Solar flare incoming," Park shouted. "It's like nothing I've ever seen." The radiation levels. Alina's blood ran cold. Their radiation shielding was part of the advanced systems they'd had to abandon. A flare of that magnitude would cook everyone aboard alive. "There must be something we can do," Valera said, her confident demeanor cracking for the first time. "Some technology we can use." Alina looked at her crew, each face showing determination despite their fear. They had survived this far by embracing their primitive nature. Perhaps that was the answer one final time. "Chief Rodriguez," Alina called out, a desperate plan forming in her mind. "The maintenance bay on Deck C. It's lined with lead for storing radioactive materials, isn't it?" "Yes, but—" Rodriguez's eyes widened as she understood. "Captain, you can't be serious. Cramming the entire crew into a maintenance bay." "Not the entire crew," Alina said quietly. "Someone will have to stay on the bridge to maintain our trajectory." The implications of her words hung heavy in the air. The solar flare would kill anyone not protected by the lead shielding. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves to save everyone else. Before anyone could speak, Valera stepped forward. "No, Captain. I believe I have a better solution, but you'll have to trust me. And it will require combining your primitive wisdom with my advanced knowledge in a way that has never been attempted before." The solar flare approached, its deadly radiation building by the second. Whatever Valera had in mind, they had mere minutes to implement it. The true test of cooperation between human ingenuity and Centaurian technology was about to begin. Legacy of Earth. As the solar flare bore down on the Endeavor, Princess Valera moved with urgent purpose. "Captain, your ship's hull. It's made of titanium alloys, correct?" Alina nodded, watching the deadly radiation wave approach. "Yes, with carbon composite reinforcement. And you still have basic electrical systems functioning." "Only the most primitive circuits," Rodriguez confirmed. "Everything else is too vulnerable to the Void Crusher's quantum disruption." Valera's three eyes gleamed with inspiration. "Perfect. Your primitive materials, combined with what I carry, might save us all." She reached into her robes and withdrew a small crystal, pulsing with internal light. "This is a Centaurian quantum core. Normally, it powers our most advanced systems, but perhaps it can power your most basic ones instead." Alina understood immediately. "Chief, if we run a basic electrical current through the hull and channel it through the quantum core," Valera continued, "we could create a makeshift radiation shield. Not through advanced technology, but through simple electromagnetic principles." Rodriguez was already moving. "We'd need to modify the entire ship's electrical system, route everything through central distribution. It's crazy, but crazy is what humans do best." Alina finished. "All hands, this is the captain. We have 4 minutes to rewire this entire ship. Move." What followed was a symphony of human determination. Crew members tore through panels, rerouted circuits, and rebuilt electrical systems with desperate speed. Valera watched in amazement as the humans ignored safety protocols, proper procedures, and technical specifications in favor of raw speed and improvisation. "Your people would spend hours calculating the perfect solution," Alina explained as she helped splice cables. "We don't have hours. Sometimes good enough now is better than perfect too late." The Void Crusher loomed behind them, still trying to track their ballistic trajectory. The solar flare's radiation was beginning to make instruments malfunction. time was running out. "Ready," Rodriguez called from engineering. "But Captain, this might fry every circuit on the ship. We'll be dead in space." "Better than just dead," Elena replied. "Princess, your core." Valera placed the crystal into the jury-rigged interface they'd built. "I must warn you, this has never been attempted. Combining Centaurian quantum technology with such basic electrical systems is exactly what we need," Elena finished. "Your advanced technology, powered by our primitive methods, sometimes the best solutions come from combining different approaches." She took a deep breath. "Activate the shield." The quantum core pulsed, and electricity surged through the Endeavor's hull. The ship groaned as energy coursed through circuits never designed for such power. Warning alerts blared as systems overloaded and failed. Then the solar flare hit. The makeshift shield held, barely. The combination of simple electromagnetic fields and quantum enhancement created a barrier just strong enough to deflect the deadly radiation. Through their remaining sensors, they watched in awe as the energy wrapped around their ship like water around a stone. But they weren't safe yet. The Void Crusher was still coming, pushing through the solar flare with its ancient power. And their improvised shield was rapidly failing. "We have one chance," Elena announced. "The Crusher can't predict simple physics. Our shield is channeling electromagnetic energy. If we reverse the polarity, we could create a repulsive force." Valera finished, understanding dawning in her three eyes. "Using the same primitive principles that saved us from the radiation." "Exactly. One last trick, using nothing more complicated than basic electromagnetic repulsion." "Chief." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Ready on your mark, Captain. But this will definitely fry all our systems. We'll be floating dead in space." Elena looked at her crew, then at Valera. Everything had led to this moment. "Mark." The shield reversed. Energy burst from the Endeavor's hull in a massive electromagnetic pulse. The Void Crusher, its complex quantum systems suddenly faced with a simple repulsive force, couldn't adapt in time. The pulse hit it like a hammer, disrupting its ancient mechanisms and sending it tumbling away into space. Then everything went dark. Every system on the Endeavor, from the most basic to the most advanced, died. They were alive, but stranded. In the emergency lighting, Valera turned to Elena. "Now you understand why I chose a human ship. My mission, my true mission, was to prove that the future of space travel lies not in ever-advancing technology, but in remembering our foundations." The conservative faction, Elena realized. They think advancing technology is everything. But you wanted to show them that true progress means knowing when to take a step back. Valera nodded. "My people have become trapped by our own advancement. We've forgotten that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. That's why I needed humans. You haven't forgotten. You still know how to think beyond technology." Before Elena could respond, lights appeared in the distance. A fleet of Centaurian ships dropped out of quantum space around them. "The High Council," Valera announced. "They came to witness my mission's outcome." She straightened regally. And what they witnessed was humanity proving that progress isn't always about moving forward. Sometimes it's about remembering where you came from. As the Centaurian ships began rescue operations, Elena looked at her crew with pride. They had survived by embracing their primitive nature, by combining basic principles with advanced technology in ways never before imagined. "So," Elena asked, "did we pass your test?" Valera's three eyes crinkled in what was definitely a smile. "Captain, you didn't just pass the test. You rewrote it entirely. And in doing so, you've helped chart a new course for both our peoples." The Endeavor floated silently in space, its systems dead, but its crew very much alive. They had faced down ancient weapons, survived impossible odds, and changed the way one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations viewed progress. Not bad for a bunch of primitives. "You know," Elena said thoughtfully, "maybe being primitive isn't such a bad thing after all." No, Valera agreed, watching the rescue ships approach. In fact, it might be exactly what the galaxy needs.